horse racing fans, and welcome to Tommy Walski's Sport of Kings. On our first segment, we sit down with a racing legend. Stephanie catches you up on all the news. Our race of the week is the River Rock Resort Cup. We hit the archives with In Case You Missed It. Our salute to the champions looks back at one of the legends of standardbred horse racing. And now here he is, BC's ambassador to the world of horse racing, Mr. Tommy Walski.
On today's Sport of Kings program, once again, we take you behind the scenes when we visit another one of Canada's top drivers, and today you're going to be in for a treat. It's Rick the Whip Zerron. During his career, Rick has won over 6,600 races, and he has amassed an amazing $70 million in purses, and is one of the top role models when it comes to harness racing in Canada. You're going to find out this is one interesting fella.
Well, I used to be exclusively racing for stables, and I got nipped in the butt over a horse called Blissful Hall one year. So I raced him as a 2-year-old, and I raced all of the operation. And after that, I kind of just picked the best horse that's in the race. And if somebody gets offended, then I apologize, and that's the best I can do. I got to look out for myself and get my wins up and make money. You got to get paid. That's the bottom line. You got to get paid.
Does anybody pay your expense, or do you bite the bullet?
No, if I'm going to go drive someplace to race a horse for a certain person, they pay the expenses. So they pay for the airfare, and that's about it, really, because whatever tracks you go to, they're pretty well happy to have you there. And if they sit in the dining room, then you can have something to eat, and they're just happy that let the public see you there. So it kind of works out pretty good. Who
books your flights, and how do you do it? How much out of a day does it take to do it?
It really doesn't take a whole lot of time. I know where I'm going. If I got a 2- or 3-year-old, wherever it's going to be, I know a couple of days or a week before where it's got to go. So you go online. That's the great thing with the internet. You just go online, you book your tickets, or you just get a hold of your daughter and get her to do it for you. And usually you have it prepped, but usually if we're racing within the vicinity of Ontario and we have all of the guys that are racing with us, we usually just charter a plane, and that's how we get around from stake race to stake race. When
you're at an airport, do you take your big long whip?
No, I don't bring any whips anymore, but I'll tell you why. Is because I'm kind of a little bit of a fanatic. I take the whip apart, and I have blue vet wrap that I wrap the end of it up with, and I do my own little shtick with it. It's just superstition, and it takes me about 20 minutes to do it. And by the time I was at the airport, they took it away from me one time, so I don't bother bringing a whip with me anymore.
Just notice your colors. How do you design your colors? And one, is that a sponsor?
Yes, SSG. They're gloves and glasses.
How'd that come about?
A couple of years ago, they asked if I'd wear the label, and they'd give me the gloves and the glasses to wear, the goggles to wear, so I had no problem with it, and he's a real good guy that owns SSG.
Did the Ontario Commission give you any flack over it?
No. No, they allow, the Ontario Racing Commission allows all of the drivers to wear all sponsored patches on their uniforms now, so it's like European if the sponsors come up and find out.
From all those winners that you've driven, anyone stick out?
I haven't driven the best horse that I've ever driven yet. He's still to come, so I can't really pick anybody out yet. That way I'll offend a lot of people. So no, I haven't driven my best horse yet.
Have there ever been a strange moment in the bike for you?
Oh, there's always strange moments in a bike. If you're talking about accidents and stuff like that, those are things that you kind of look up before you get in behind the gate and make sure that everything's going to be all right. But yeah, there's a strange moment. I'll tell you, I had a real strange moment last night. Matter of fact, is the hall hanger got caught in the fork of my Advantage bike going around the last turn with one of the horses, and it went from, he had like a 58.5-inch hobble, and it went right to about a 50-inch hobble, so he kind of pulled himself up. Going around the last turn, I had to pull the horse up off to the side and stop him. I didn't know what was wrong until I looked down. I seen the buckle was hooked up into the corner of the Advantage, the fork of the Advantage, so that was a little strange.
How do you explain that to whoever to be?
Well, I walked the horse back to the paddock so that they knew that I wouldn't be far-fetched and telling a long tale so that they could see that it was still hooked on there.
Any crazy instructions? How many crazy instructions have you heard from trainers?
I think the wildest crazy instruction that I've had from a lot of trainers is you go to grab the lines and you look over and you go like a friend of mine, Raz, and he'll go, he just can't get beat. He can't lose. You're just going to win with him. He's an easy winner. That's one of the strangest ones that I usually have.
I've been around a few crazy riders in my life. Have you been around drivers that you can say kind of nuts?
Well, yeah, our colony, our group at Woodbine is a pretty far-fetched kind of group. Sometimes you're scared to open your locker when you go into the race at night or in between the races. It's kind of a little weird to open your locker up or put your shoes on when you're done racing or stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of pranks go on in the driver's room.
Drivers give back enough to the sport?
No, I don't think they give back enough. I think a lot more people should give back instead of taking, because with the slot machines and the way the racing industry is today, the people involved, where the purses are, they're making a lot of money, and they should give back a little bit more.
If you were running a racetrack, what would you do to make it more popular?
Advertise. You have to advertise. I'll bet you Vancouver, I'll bet you 40 to 50% of the people don't even know that there's a racetrack here. And if they do, they know that there's slot machines here, and they don't even look out to see where the horses are. You have to advertise all the time on billboards, on TV, on radio. If you advertise, they will come. And that's what I think that I would do if I owned a racetrack.
Rick, thanks for the time, appreciate it, and go get the job done.
Down the center, star bonus on the inside, Hussey Chaser. Here is Harness Racing's next 6,000 win man, Rick Zerron.
Hey folks, mount up. It's time to saddle up and ride over to the Trainer's Corner.
A lot of effort goes into training a horse, but how important is the selection of a race bike? To find out the answer to that question, we caught up with trainer Tim Brown to discuss his new choice of race bike.
Well, these bikes came out about 5 years ago now, I guess, maybe a little longer. A fellow by the name of Tom Harmer, a trainer in the United States, mainly in Florida, came up with this design for a bike it's a lot heavier than our normal bikes, the old style. And the thing behind the weight, I think, is a push factor. And they track behind a horse where you don't have any movement side to side. You'll see some of the older bikes and the driver will sit in it, and you'll see a little bit of sway to the driver, which in my opinion, it throws the horse's balance off just a little bit. It may cost them, where these bikes track right behind the horse, and with the weight behind them, it has a little push factor. Down at the end of the shafts here, they have a thing they call the bullet hitch, where you can adjust it to sit behind a horse far or up close to a horse, just depending on the size of the horse. The other factor in these are the speed wheels that they invented, and it's kind of a plastic composite wheel that has a free spinning bearings system that they have in the hubs, and these wheels will spin and spin and spin. You won't have any drag on them at all. They seem to be the in thing. If you look at the Meadowlands, Woodbine, any of the major tracks in the US and Canada now, these bikes are the most popular bike around, and they seem to help a horse. I think that advantage, how much, I'm not sure, but any advantage helps. Sometimes you get beat by a nose, these bikes might just give you that extra nose.
How much does one of these bikes cost?
These bikes are about, with the wheels now, about $5,000 to $6,000. The other bikes, the Broders, which have always been the mainstay in Canada, they're a Montreal company, probably about $3,500 to $4,000 their bikes are now. These are $5,000 to $6,000 American, so they're getting more expensive. The wheels alone are about $1,500 to $1,800 a set.
The wheels look quite different from the old spoked wheel.
These wheels, that's the only problem that they've had with these wheels is there's only about 150 side pressure on them. So if you get hooked and dragged sideways, a lot of times these wheels will collapse. Saturday, following the race, Barry and Clint Warrington hooked wheels right after the wire, and Barry's horse got dragged sideways a little bit, and his wheel collapsed. They're not a very strong made thing. You know, going straight forward, they're fine, but if you go sideways, there's always that problem.
Don't go away. The Sport of Kings will be right back.